Hi guys, I am Sam and welcome back to the Unity of Life, and I'm just trying to make that a little bit more entertaining. I am not nuts, I promise. So we are back and we are talking about females in motorsports, and we're started off talking about the different organisations on which these females have come from, shall we say, like that they have this opportunity to, I've lost my trail of thought, sorry, to motorsports and get recognised for it. And we've talked about the British Women's Racing Drivers Club, I think that's it, and how they're there to help women that have already had some experiences, whether they serve motorsports, so there's some service of motorsports and they get a reward for it, and then there's like also women that might get awards because they are racing drivers. And then we've talked about Formula Women and how that is women that don't necessarily have to have any experience, but they can join that competition and they can gain experience. And they might not go into the finals or become a finalist, but they still get an experience. That's probably once in a lifetime opportunity that they may never get again or may have never gotten before. So what we're going to talk about is something that's called Girls on the Track. Now, this has merged, I believe, with Dare to Be Different. So Dare to Be Different was a foundation, a non-profit organisation that was formed in 2016 by the fabulous and very amazing Susie Wolff, who, if you don't know, where have you been your whole entire life? You've been living under a rock. Anyway, she's a female who, obviously she's a female, she drives motorsport. She used to test drive cars for Williams Formula 1 team, but she has also got driving racing experience herself. And I think what she's trying to do with Girls on the Track is just amazing. And this Dare to Be Different thing. So this is all basically been set up to, again, like all the other organisations that we've talked about and are going to talk about, it is to increase female participation within motorsports. And it's not just actually on the track, but it's all aspects of the sport as well. So that includes things like engineering, I don't know what other things there are because I don't know much about racing and stuff, but there's a lot of jobs that go on behind the scenes as well that we don't necessarily know about or see about, because that's not the most entertaining part, because you show up to watch the race and the drivers, not the teams and the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So I think that would be fascinating if we delved into that and we had like a series of their jobs and what it is that they actually do. I think there was one and she was like a simulator tester, and that just sounds cool. Like she got to like test it out and make sure it was all working and it was set up properly. That just sounds like awesome. Sounds like a really good, nice job. So yeah, so motorsports, as we all know, is obviously being perceived as a very male dominant sport, and it's gained respect all over the world. So it's not just an issue that happens within like a country, it's like everywhere. So in 2019, so 3 years after the Dare to Be Different was founded, the FIA Women in Motorsports Commission, who I had never heard of before until this point, has teamed with Susie Wolff and her Dare to Be Different non-profit organisation, and they've got this new exciting educational programme for girls between the ages of 8 and 18. So this is where this one stands out a little bit differently from the rest, because the rest you have to be a grown woman, basically. Well, this is trying to get more girls sort of into, getting them interested into these jobs, potential jobs, so that maybe in the future we'll see more females within the motor sport. So, following the successful Girls on Track / Dare to Be Different activations in the Mexico City, Berlin right, okay, there's a lot of words on here that I don't quite understand because I don't get an awful lot about motorsports and stuff, but I'm just a woman and I'm passionate about the fact that we're not in it that much. So, yeah, they've been adopted on Girls on the Track. So, their main objection to the programme is to offer a positive experience, not a negative one, a positive experience of the motorsport world to young women who are between... I love the fact that it says young women, because when you're 8 years old, do you class yourself as a woman? Does everybody else class you as a woman? I class you as a girl, but there you go. So it's young women between the ages of 8 and 18 years old. So I'm too old for this. Sadly, in the long term, to increase the number of women involved in motorsports. And I say in the long term because this was 16 when this was set up. So I was 18 in 2016, so I was like at the back end of the bracket, so I probably still wouldn't have been able to have done any of this. But plus, I don't live in a major city down south, which all these wonderful weird organisations do seem to happen a lot in, even though you can join from around the world, if that makes sense. So, what exactly is it that they do for this educational experience? I'm just trying to think. My brain's not working anymore. So it's an event. So they set up events that are pretty much aimed to inspire girls and women into seeing and believing that there is a rightful and valuable place for them in the motorsports world industry. So that's pretty much what they want to do. So they give this a lot of variety of opportunities within the sport. That means that there's literally something there for everybody, regardless of their interests, their gender and their race, which I think is really important, because when we start to discuss these female drivers in motorsports now, and of the past, again, most of them have been white, and we've not really had a lot of races at all of colour, regardless if they're male or female. And again, there are some drivers that we will be talking about that are part of the LGBTQ plus, and have spoken about that. But again, I don't think there's many or at least there's not many that have been open about it, shall we say. So they do these school events, and they offer these very young girls the unique opportunities to participate, and it's 3. These events are 3. That's hence why it's a non-profit organisation. And the goal of the programme is to inspire and to encourage an interest in STEM subjects. So I am going to do a video on sort of STEM and what that is, because it's a bit complicated and it even confuses me. So I am a woman who has actually a bachelor's degree in science. Whoop whoop. It's animal science, so it's a natural science. So it's not as exciting as it's not that exciting to some people. It's exciting to me because I like animals, and animals are in their own right are very complicated creatures, much more complicated and complex than humans some of the time, because animal behaviour is pretty much looking at an animal and trying to figure out why an animal's doing what it's doing, right? So it's a bit like psychology for humans, but animals can't talk where humans can, so there's a difference. And STEM is, I think it's science, technology, engineering and mathematics. So, science falls into that. I think, I'm not sure if it mentions natural sciences. Natural science is the thing that comes under their science. But I'm going to do some digging and some research into it, because it is an amazing organisation within itself, and it does provide a lot of opportunities to people that might not have been able to have those opportunities otherwise, for whatever reason that there may be. So, and this is mainly amongst obviously girls at school, not young women who do master's degrees, and they're basically wanting to increase female participation and so in this motorsports world, and you know, they want them to be exposed to these incredible opportunities and career paths within the sport, career paths in this sport that they may have never even considered before, and that's something that's huge. And I say this because I've grown up in a very isolated area right at the top of the northwest of England, which isn't that far from Scotland, where Susie herself is actually from, and we don't have karting tracks. Well, we've got one, if you can call it that. That's quite close. It's in a couple of towns away. It's indoor karting. It's not like an outdoor karting. And I'm not even sure how good of a resource that is. But I didn't know anything about. I don't even know how long it's been there. But people assure me it's been there for a long time. But I never knew about it until a couple of years ago, really. So when I was growing up, basically I don't get on with my dad. I don't see my biological dad. I'm not getting into that, but basically he was a guy that was very sexist. So, you know, women have one rule, men have another, yeah. So he wouldn't allow me to sit down and watch Formula 1, but I knew all about it because he watched it every Sunday. And, you know, you heard it. So I kind of grew up with it because it was always on our TV. And then when he left and my mum got into a new relationship, even he was obsessed with Formula 1. You can see where this is going. And yeah, and that's always on the TV. And, you know, we can't disturb him when the race is on. We can't go and talk to him when the race is on or whatever. Everything has to stop because the race is on. So yeah, I kind of grown up with it, and I've only just started watching Formula 1 myself as of like Silverstone, when they were in Silverstone back in 2021. And that's really because I've literally just allowed myself to watch it and to enjoy it, because I was like, oh my god, people are going to judge me for liking Formula 1 and liking motorsports because I'm a woman, and because I'd obviously gotten it in my head because of how I was raised, that I'm not allowed to like this. This isn't something that I'm allowed to like. And it was really conflicting because my very sexist, horrible person of a dad, I remember he took me to see Cars when Cars came out. I was the target audience for Cars when Cars came out back in 2007. I was still a child then. And I remember him asking me who my favourite character was. My favourite character, hands down, was Lightning McQueen, right? Because not only is he the main character, but he was the most interesting character because he was the one who was doing the racing. But he wasn't just that. There's this moral change and dilemma in it. He grows up, shall we say, and he changes. He becomes less cocky and less arrogant and realises that he can't do everything on his own, that he does need to work with people as a team. But for those who aren't aware, he has a love interest called Sally. So my dad was automatically thinks that I should have liked Sally because she was the female. And I've got nothing against Sally as a character, but she's only really... This does annoy me a little bit because she's a supporting character, right? She's literally in that film to fall in love with the male protagonist, right? So that annoys me a little bit because that's literally her only role in the film. She's, you know, they have this love-hate relationship. So he's like, oh, she like flirting with her and everything, and she's not having it. And then they get together in the end. You know, this love turns to hate. This hate turns to love thing, rather. And they spend time together and they realise he's not so bad, she's not so bad. Cliche things, but this was back in 2007, so there's not really much that I can expect. However, Cars did redeem themselves with Cars 3. We're not going to talk about Cars 2 because that was an utter flop. I am very disappointed with Cars 2. Like a lot of people, that was not a very good film. I think the only good thing about that film was the cameos, okay? The fact that they had like Lewis Hamilton cameo and as himself, well, as a car version of himself, was awesome. But that's about all I can say about that film. It was terrible. And then they got to Cars 3 and they brought in Cruz Ramirez, who is a Latino fitness coach in this Cars world, and she's an inspiring motor. She wants to be a racing driver, right? She wants to be a racer, and Lightning at the end gives her that opportunity, and she's quite an exciting character, and she becomes a racer in her own right, and you follow her along her journey. So they really did redeem themselves in Cars 3. That happened 10 years later, so that was in 2017. And I was probably too old to be watching it then, but me and my friend didn't care. We went and watched it anyway, because we grew up with them and we loved it so much. And I still love those films from my childhood. So yeah, because I absolutely liked and enjoyed them, and that was when I kind of realised that maybe racing wasn't so bad. It could be exciting and everything, but because of the world that I grew up in, and I was like, because you're a female, because I was born in the 90s, they were like, you know, that's not a job for you. So I never ever considered it as a job. It was something other people did on TV that were mainly men. And then obviously I found out a little bit more, you did the karting thing, and I was like, well, that wasn't an opportunity we even had as a child, which is quite sad. And I think something needs to be done about that. I think there needs to be more of these opportunities that happen all over the country, like up and down. So I'm like in the UK, and maybe even happen around the world, you know, but small baby steps, you know, to give females more of a chance, you know, especially very young girls. So this is why I find this Girls on the Track initiative, and Dare to Be Different, a very good opportunity, because they give you that opportunity as a very young girl to get into this world, right? They're giving you this experience that you can be like, hang on a minute, it doesn't matter that I'm a female, I can still go into motorsports. And whether or not I'm going to be a driver, or I'm just going to maybe because racing's not really my thing, but maybe I like technology and I like the engineering side of things. So, you know, you can still go into it that way, because I believe there's some teams in Formula 1, they have female test drivers, which is awesome and it's cool, but it still annoys me because they're good enough to test drive, but they're not good enough to actually be actual drivers. But more on that on another day. So yeah, and you know, what this organisation, what they say is that, you know, that the Motorsport UK is a national membership organisation. So this is something, I think this is something that they work with, and it represents competitors, volunteers, clubs, and fans, right? And as a member for this organisation, so they embrace diverse community, which again is something that we need. It's not just the separation of gender, but we have this separation in sport about race as well, and that needs to be abolished as well, because if you've obviously seen the 2001 Abu Dhabi, 2001, what am I on about? 2021 Abu Dhabi season final, even the whole of the series, like, you know, Lewis is the only black driver that Formula 1 have so far, right? And I personally think he's been treated quite appallingly through that season, and it is something that we are now seeing because he's talking about it and he's pointing this out. But it has been something that has happened throughout his whole career, which is absolutely disgusting, because at the end of the day, he is a person, right? It does not matter that he has darker skin than of some people, and I was supposed to got lighter skin than other people as well, but at the end of the day, he can't do anything about his skin colour. He can't change it. His skin colour is part of who he is, and that's not what defines him. You know, he is a very talented driver. Like, he's the best driver in the world, right? You can argue with me on that in the comments if you like, but that's, like, it's just facts, right? And the fact that he's being treated so appallingly because of something he can't control, that he has literally no control over, and he's not the only person in the world that gets treated that way, is still absolutely appalling and disgusting, especially in this day and age that we live in. Okay, so the fact that this organisation is trying to fight against this, saying that we should be more welcoming to women in this sport, we should be welcoming more people of colour and of the LGBT community and everything that makes us different, okay? Because what should be bringing us all together in this is the fact that everybody who's there are there with the intention that they love sport, that particular sport. They love motorsports, right? And that is something that doesn't make people different, but makes you the same, because you share that love, you share that passion, right? So whether that's you driving, just being a fan, working behind the scenes, like marshals, I mean, they do a fantastic job as well. They put themselves at risk, and helping and making sure that everything's okay. You know, so what they're trying to do is to bring people together that have got similarities, right? They've shared this love for motorsports. They've got this competitive spirit, because you can't tell me the fans aren't competitive, because you'll have like fans of each driver that all sat up there in the things, and they'll be cheering on their chosen driver that they're a huge fan of, right? And so that in a way is them competing against fans of another driver, right? Because they want their driver to win, and you know you get that competitive nature. And I'm not gonna, like, you ask my mum or you ask my best friends, they will tell you how competitive I actually am, even though I will deny it to them. So yeah, this organisation is something that has good values. They've got this ambition. Ambition is so important in things like this, and they really want to help to achieve outstanding results and bridge the gap that already exists. Just completely, if they can bridge it, then we can get rid of it completely, and we wouldn't be having conversations about race and about gender and sexuality and everything that comes under that sort of umbrella of, you know, because these things make people different, and that's not a bad thing, right? But for some reason we treat it as if it's a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing, because if we're different from one another, then life's exciting. If we're all the same, life would be very, very boring. But just because people are different doesn't mean they're not the same on some levels as well. And yeah, they have this integrity, they're saying, and this integrity, I'm probably not even saying that right, but that's at the centre of who they are, and I think that is vastly important. So I know this video has gone on a long time, but basically what they're trying to do is they make sure that these girls are getting some sort of experience and educating them in potential jobs. Okay, so that's the heart of it, and you know, they want it to be fair motorsports, they want it to be fun, and they want it to be inclusive, and this is what they're trying to do with these young girls and trying to help them. So what I'm going to do is end this video here, because I've got even though I have an awful lot of notes. Oh yeah, sorry, another thing I want to say just quickly. So they're trying to develop their understanding of equality and diversity and inclusion, which is great, because when you're not of that gender or not of a certain race, you may not understand or know what it is that they go through every single day. So trying to educate yourselves, trying to learn more about it, and trying to understand it is very, very key into a nice, pleasant world. So this video has gone on longer than what I expected, and it's probably gone on longer than what you were expecting. So I am definitely going to end this here. I'm sorry that it's been a long one, but it just shows you how passionate I am about trying to get females into motorsports, because it is definitely something I never had the opportunity to do, and I may never get the opportunity to do anything like this. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to share some of my experiences. I might go into a little bit more detail about that in another video. But I just wanted to show you how passionate I am and how fantastic that this organisation is, and other organisations. And the fact that this organisation has, I can't say this enough, has been, you know, organised and put together by Susie Wolff, who is an absolutely brilliant person inside and out, as well as when she was on the track. I know she's stepped back from driving herself, but I did do a video on her, so check that out, and I do tell you a little bit more about her herself, because she's running a team now in Formula E, which I just think is fantastic and great. Anyway, I will see you all in the next video when we continue to look at female drivers. If you have loved this video and learning about these things as much as I have, then somewhere along here will be a picture of my face. If you click on that, you can subscribe and you will not miss a single one of my videos. And if you enjoyed this, you want us to go back and have a look at maybe the video I've just mentioned that I did on Susie Wolf, or you want to look at other videos that are similar to this one, around here there will be a playlist, so click on that and go and check out those videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.